do get imposter syndrome. Like, I tend to get it more in, especially academia setting. Like I only started doing these videos and stuff for Instagram because of Tom Hibbert. Like I was at first, I was like, oh, I'll wait until I've got my undergrad degree, and then I'll wait until I've finished my PhD.
Yeah.
And then,
but you do it if you didn't start when you started, you're doing people a disservice.
Well,
go on.
I was also, and this is probably going to sound selfish, I was really worried that someone would beat me to the post because obviously there's not really anybody else doing this. And I was thinking, if I get to the end of my PhD in 3-4 years and somebody's now already doing this strongman psychologist stuff, they're going to be the one people know for this. I really wanted to avoid that. But yeah, literally just Tom chatted to us at the end of a seminar and said that sometimes you just need to have these fuck it moments where you basically just
take imperfect action.
Yeah. And then I got home. I was originally I had quite a lot of client updates to do. And I was just sat here trying to do my work. And I was like, I need to do a fucking video. So I just went and I think the first video I did, it took me about 130 videos, something like that, before I finally got one. I was like, oh, I don't mind posting that. But yeah, like on my first day of registering to be a PhD student, they get everyone who's doing a PhD at the uni to sit in one like lecture hall, and you like have to meet all the people in the different departments. And I was speaking to this guy, and he was doing his PhD on how the migration of salmon is affected by their metabolic rate. I was just like, these people I'm fucking associating with here and not. And I made a little joke. I was like, oh, I feel like an imposter here. And then literally everyone around me started popping their head around like, oh, me too, me too. So I wouldn't say that me personally, I'm the most confident of people, but I kind of know how to. A lot of do isn't about trying to, because you don't want to change people's traits or characteristics, because like my first video, I made a really strong point that anxiety is good when used properly. And if you're somebody who's more susceptible to these sort of responses, we're not trying to weaken your emotions. We're not trying to repress them, or these things that we've evolved to have over thousands of years. We're not trying to repress and get rid of them, but we're trying to bring it out to be as beneficial to you as you can. Like someone like you who might be less susceptible to these kinds of things, that's great. And we'll work with your strengths and your weaknesses to make you as effective as we can. And you do the same for somebody in that situation.
What about anxiety?
In that situation, I was talking about anxiety, yeah. But hundreds of things that I could have plucked out. And it's just about, I'm quite aware of my strengths and limitations at this point. I know how to draw the best out of myself. And for me, anxiety used to be like something that really crippled me in a way. Like, I'm sure if you chat to Shane, he'll tell you thousands of stories of me not being able to speak to people. But now that I've accepted what I've got, I've learned ways of dealing with that in like social settings or new gyms or whatever. So I can come across as feeling confident. And then once people start seeing you as confident, you actually start feeling that way. But also I use it as a driving force. So whatever I do, whether I've literally just today submitting a paper to be published, doing that, I check over every piece of work I do. And going through university, if I had a deadline, I'd have it finished and submitted within 2 weeks before the deadline, because I was nervous how it was. And then I'd go look over it 5-6 times a day, make sure there was no mistakes. Like, it's made me so organized and conscientious because I'm anxious of fucking up. And when you use it to the right settings, it's really useful, because I know I'm never going to miss a deadline. I know that I'm going to do everything I'm going to do because I've got this physiological response that like really heavily kicks in.
So do you find that like actually using that to drive your actions, but then when it comes back as a circle, then it's better at managing your negative consequences of anxiety? So say, for instance, you're doing these things that are causing you to act in terms of being punctual, getting things in early. So then you can deal with stuff and it's not a panic, and because I find a lot of people feed that, like, anxiety is something that I have to manage.
Yeah.
And I can remember that, but I recognize that I used to do act in a way that just fed into it, and almost like look back at a few years ago and when things were maybe at the worst or whatever, that the stuff that I was doing was feeding into this kind of negative cycle, whereas actually kind of, I suppose what I'm saying is that, yeah, it's something that a lot of us manage, isn't it, really? And I don't know what I'm fucking doing. Going off on a tangent, mate. But so let's move on to the next. Oh yeah, last thing on that. So interested. So self-efficacy. Do you think this is innate, or is it something that you can develop and something that you can acquire? What's the academia side saying on that?
It's definitely something that can be built up for sure. So basically, what I was discussing at the start with imposter syndrome, the way that I was managing that, so getting you to evoke positive emotions about yourself towards a competition, that's increasing self-efficacy. So with that, what you're trying to do is associate positive emotions towards what you're doing, what you're capable of. And it does need to be, it can be, what's the word I'm looking for? It can be intervened in a sense of somebody can lead you to that sensation. So for example, when I was doing the calls with people, my role was to get them to that point themselves. So asking questions that are leading towards them gaining that emotional response towards themselves. So it is something that can be managed and improved. Obviously, like anything, some people are on a scale where they're born with, they've got high amounts of self-confidence or self-belief, and some people, they just need a little bit of work to get them there.
Interesting. Yeah, because this is something that it's something that I really struggled with when I was younger, and I do find that it's something that's got better with me over time. And I suppose, yeah, like when I was at school age, like I just didn't my like low self-efficacy, low self-esteem, like I just used to get a bit like people taking the mick out of me, and like I didn't feel like I could talk to girls and stuff like that. And then as I got older, it's something that I kind of worked on improving, and got more confident in social situations, like but consciously doing so. And I used to like when I was younger, I used to suffer with these things of the what we've talked about, the imposter syndrome a lot, whereas like nowadays I don't at all, because I've built up this kind of self-efficacy thing that I've developed. Like I believe in myself so much now in stuff that I do, even to the point beyond where I'm like it's ridiculous. Like I'm even to the point where I'm like, I'm so wrong sometimes. And then I look back and I just think, why did I believe that I could do, like, it's great that I always believe that I can execute something well, even if I mess up. But I suppose it's fascinating, this chat, because it's made me think about myself and think about how all these things are intertwined, obviously.
Yeah.
But like we were talking about the lift ritual for me, and you said, oh well, it's a self-efficacy thing. The fact that you need to just reinforce your positivity and remind yourself that you can do it, and then you feel like an animal. but yeah, it's like such a powerful thing that I've kind of developed over time, and like the same with you, going into these, getting these the meetings with the other academics or whatever, and when, like, after you've been in that such a situation 10 times and dealt with it, and then come out the other side and been a boss and got your papers published, you're getting great feedback, like, that's all going to feed into building this self-efficacy to the point where you'll go to situations in the future, not even in academia. It may be like sports situation. It might be next time you go to do 400 deadlift, and all those situations, those non-lifting situations where you've dealt with feeling like an imposter, but not anymore. Like it all feeds into each other, doesn't it?
Well, you kind of got to push yourself. Well, when I say push yourself, you've got to manageably put yourselves in situations that you previously wouldn't be comfortable with. Like, for me, I've always hated talking to a camera, like hated it so bad. Now I'm to a point where I'm doing it. Yeah. Well, I'm putting weekly videos up, and obviously I teach at the university now, so I'm speaking to, I don't have that big of classes. I think my biggest one's about 50, but I'm stood for an hour or two chatting to a bunch of students about something I'm supposed to be an expert in, and all these things that would normally, or a couple of years ago, I'd have been like, not a chance I'm doing that. And just the manageable jumps I've made over the years, whether it was when I started working at the gym at the original MST, to personal training people, to doing group sessions, it does over time really build up and build your, well, it takes you away from social anxiety. It's kind of the essential thing that you need to do.
Yeah. So you like that was one for me, like being a personal trainer and like having someone booked in with you and they're paying you whatever for an hour. And that was a thing where I used to get imposter syndrome. Yeah. And a thing that I'm dealing with that, where I used to think, oh, bloody hell, like, why are they paying me this? And like, am I going to give them enough value? Like, whereas revisiting that over time or whatever, or getting off with a fit girl in a nightclub or whatever, like that's a thing for me that really
relate to that one, mate.
No, nor can I actually. not fit anyway. But yeah, like I just find it really interesting that it doesn't have to be the it's all intertwined and all encompassing, and the fact that if you, that's why I'm so fascinated with training from like a holistic perspective. And actually I see every minute, I see this as training. I see like reflecting on what we're doing and chatting and talking, like this is training. It's not just lifting in the gym. It's like literally every moment of every day. So I find that like improving at these kind of life situations, you with you dealing with being new to teaching people, new to being in front of a camera, like these are uncomfortable situations that you there's a little bit of doubt there, but then 9 times out of 10 you're absolutely bossing it. Like I put something on social media the other day, actually. It was just a random thought, but it was similar to this, where it was just about, that's the reason why I back myself so much. I realize that I back myself so much, even if it's a new situation or put on the spot with something, because this might sound ridiculous or arrogant, but I know that statistically, like 9 times out of 10, I'm going to be right, or I'm going to make a good decision, like based on the stuff and the data that have previously gone. So I think that but the only way that you can collect this data is by what you said before about consistently putting yourself in these situations where there is a little bit of doubt, there is a little bit of anxiety linked with this. I'm out of my comfort zone, but then I'm bossing it. and everything's okay. And it's that accumulated thing over time that kind of leads.
Well, one thing Jordan Peterson does, do you know Professor Jordan Peterson?
Yeah.
One thing he would get to do if he had like young men who were shy, nervous around girls, he'd get them to go out every day for a week and ask for 30 girls' numbers, random girls they'd never met. And over time, yeah, they might not have got many numbers, but that fear of rejection had just fucked off because they've been rejected and they know it's not the end of the world. And it's just about breaking that. Well, this is my most recent Instagram post, breaking that vicious cycle of anxiety. The more you avoid something because it's making you anxious, yeah, short term, you're going to feel all right because you've avoided it. But the next time you're put in that situation, you've just added 10% anxiety to the next time you're in that situation. Whereas if you break it and you realize, actually, I'm okay, I'm safe in this situation, only get rid of your anxieties about that situation, but you're going to be able to build on it. And if you just, because I make it sound simple, like obviously breaking social anxiety is really hard work and it's stressful and it's scary, but the steps to beat it are fairly simple. You just need to be resilient to the scary side of it.